Well, greetings, my friends. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Hello, hello. It is Pastor Sherri. It is Reverend Sherri. It is Sherri from the 800 block of Mooney Avenue. And I am so excited about tonight. I am so excited about tonight with my virtual launch of my book, my fourth book. Can you believe it? My fourth book in celebration of my 20th year of preaching. 20 years come May 25th. Hello, Wanda. So glad to see you tonight. Listen, I need you to like, share, tag, bring people in. I am so excited as I launch my fourth book, Evolving 20 Years of Preaching and Passionately Disrupting Patriarchy. Listen, I need you to go, as you are coming in, the link is in the chat. Hopefully you can see it. Let me know if you could see the, oh, you've already done all of that. Well, go ahead on, Miss Natasha. Listen, I need 99 more just like you, because we are going to make this a bestseller tonight. We are going to make this bestseller. You need to be among the first that win the, yes, Natasha, my fourth book. I am excited. Listen, I did my memoir, Not Built to Break, in 2016, I believe, 2016. And then I did a sermon prep book, Sermon Prep Made Easy, 6 steps every preacher should take before reaching the pulpit. My third book in a pandemic is that I did in the pandemic was Silent, Not Me, reimagining the biblical text that keeps women out of the pulpit, 1 Corinthians 14 and 34. And tonight I am launching. I am doing pre-sales. I need 99 more because attorney Natasha Robinson says that she has already did hers. So I need 99 more tonight. I intend to get 100 pre-sale books. We're going to make this a bestseller tonight. God, we just thank you. We celebrate you for what you have done in my life. It has been 20 years come May 25th that I would have been preaching, and so much has happened through these 20 years. Listen, and this is what this book is all about. Evolving. I am not the same person. Do you hear me? I am not the same person that I was when I stood in front of Zoe Outreach Ministries in Racine, Wisconsin, and preached my first sermon that night. Listen, I don't remember the title, but I know that it had something to do with motivation. I know that it had to do with David counting the men, the soldiers, when God told David not to count. Don't count the soldiers. Don't count the people. And David did it anyway. I do remember that. I remember that much. So 20 years. So much has happened. And so this book, Evolving, 20 years of preaching and passionately disrupting patriarchy. Yes, 20 years of preaching and passionately disrupting patriarchy. Listen, I have been a thorn in the flesh. For many people, if I would just keep my mouth closed, Natasha, if I would just get in my corner and be a virtuous woman, as Proverbs 31, see, I don't even know the number because I try to stay away from that. But 20 years of disrupting systems and causing havoc and messing with the status quo, that has been me. But listen, let me tell you something. Now, don't let me act brand new, because It did not start out that way. It did not. Yes, go ahead on. And here is the somebody here is the can you see the link to order the book? Can you see the link to order the book? It is certainly in this bio, and it is, let me put it right here in the link section, because I want you to be able to go and get that right now. I want you to go ahead on and get that. Yes, Donna, disruption. Let me tell y'all a little bit for those of you who are just coming into my space, into my journey. Let me tell you about this girl 20 years ago. Let's go back. Even before that, listen, hold on to your seats. Hold on up to your seats. I did not believe in women preachers. Can you even believe that? I did not believe in women preachers. So listen, this book, I have evolved in 3 areas since 2003 when I preached my first sermon. I have evolved in 3 areas. Thank you, Dr. Jamie. I have evolved in my theology. What I believe about God and how God operates. Listen, let me tell you, growing up in the South, in a Black Baptist church in the South, I had some concrete ideas and a belief system that was handed over to me. Listen, it was handed over to me. And I'm not saying that everything that I learned growing up that I've thrown away, but I have certainly evolved from, right? That I have certainly evolved. What I believe about God and how God operates. I had to come to a terms with I could no longer operate under my mother's God, under my grandmother's God. I had to understand God for myself. I had to embrace God for myself. And when I did that, Pastor Shannon, listen, I need y'all to get that book. Go ahead on and get the pre-sales. I'm trying to do 100. I'm trying to do 100 tonight. In the morning, this will be a bestseller from the pre-sales. I just believe that. Talking about my 20 years of preaching and passionately disrupting patriarchy. Listen, in Pink Road Chronicles this morning that we were talking about how when we walk in the room, people get anxious. Why? Because they know we coming to disrupt some stuff. It's in our DNA. So I have evolved in my theology and what I believe about God and how God operates. Here's another way that I have evolved. I have evolved in my anthropology. What are you saying, Sherri? I have evolved in what I believe about God's people. Listen, and here is how I got there. Here is how I got here. Growing up, especially with what I believe and what I was taught about same sex, same gender loving people. It was handed to me that was an abomination and that people were going straight to hell. Listen, I believe because it was passed it down to me. The preacher said it. But let me tell you what changed me. Let me tell you what changed me. Not only in my family, right? In my family, I have a niece and she's out, so I'm not outing her. She's out. But when I was in I went to seminary first to get my MDiv. And in our cohort, we were put into groups. And in the cohort, there were two there was one for sure lesbian, and she told her story of how the church had um, was oppressive and how the church treated her. And I began to think about, my God, is this what I'm doing to other people? And how dare I, one who is oppressed as a woman, a preaching woman in the church, and I felt that thing all for myself. And I'm saying, my God, Sherri, how are you treating others? Are you a part of the system that is causing hurt and harm and danger for people just because they don't love like you, just because they don't look like you? Am I the oppressed then oppressing others? Am I oppressing others? And I had to have a come to Jesus meeting for myself, right? So Natasha, let me just say this. For right now, it's going to be when you do your pre-sale, your pre-orders, you are ordering the Kindle version, and the hardback, so to speak, is coming later. But I need all my friends to do this for me right now, because we are going to make this a bestseller tonight. We are going to do this bestseller. So, attorney, thank you, Pastor Angie. Thank you. So I have evolved in my theology. I have evolved in my anthropology. And I have evolved in my sociology. So what are you talking about, Sherri? What are you talking about, sociology? So sociology has to do with how people interact with each other. And this brings up this idea of gender roles. Sociology talks about gender roles and how society says that men should be doing this and women should be doing that, right? And so that brings me back to then patriarchy. Patriarchy, that there is this hierarchy thing going on where men are the ones who are dominate. They are the ones. My theology, see how all of this goes together? My theology does not line up with saying that's how God operates. That when God created us, that God created us in partnership with each other, that there is no hierarchy. So my sociology has changed, which says that patriarchy is not of God. What patriarchy is really about power. And power in the hands of a few is dangerous. Power in the hands of a few is dangerous. And so when we operate, and to say that only so many people, a group of people should have power, males should have power, well then that spills over into the home, the workplace, and my God, it spills over in the church. And so when it spills over in the church, what happens is those who hold the power gets to determine the rule. Those who hold the power gets to determine the rule. That's not of God. And so when the males hold the power, they control not only the pew, but they control the pulpit. And so these 20 years have helped me to understand that patriarchy is a system designed to keep women in the kitchen and the bedroom and far, far away from the pulpit. And so in this new book, I am talking about in depth how I have evolved. Power in the hands of a few, Miss Constant, is dangerous. And unfortunately, when 90% of the congregation, the pew, is women, and almost 100% in the pulpit, that's men, the rules and the doctrine and the theology that comes from the pulpit is designed to keep the power out of the pews. And so, let me calm down. You see what I mean? You see, passionately disrupting patriarchy. And so, I'm just like the Apostle Paul when he says that he was a persecutor of the church. When he was doing bad, when Paul was out there disrupting stuff and tearing stuff up, he was doing it with passion, Dr. Ari. And when he came on the other side, he had to equal up to the passion that he used to cause havoc on the church. It's the same way with me. I was such against women in ministry. I was such against women preachers. I would not listen to a woman preach. Now, I know it's hard. I know that it's hard to hear that today. But the reason I go so hard on this side is because of the danger and the violence and the problems and the harm that I caused on the other side. I have to at least give it as much energy helping women to use their voices as I did to silence them. Now listen, it all started because that was the theology that was given to me. I come up in the Baptist church. I was all things Baptist. If I were not preaching, I would be high, if not a first lady somewhere. I would be high up in the echelons of the National Baptist because that was the track I was on. I was a proud card carrying Baptist who refused to listen to a woman preach. When I think about it, which is why I am who I am today. Now, let me tell you something. I would not give anything for my journey. I would not give anything for my journey. Today, 20 years later, May 25th, 2003, I preached my first sermon. And let me tell you, even after I preached my first sermon, it was still a long time before I used the word preach. It's like when I said it, I felt fear come over me. But not today. Because I have evolved. I have evolved in my theology, what I think about God, what I believe about God. Listen, the God of my mama and them and my grandma and them and my Sunday school teachers, listen, it gave me a great foundation. They gave me a great foundation at Greenfield Baptist Church, 100 J.W. Davis Drive in Hammond, Louisiana. Listen, let me tell you, saying those poems, standing in front of those people and saying those poems as loud as I can, just as loud as I am now. See, if I've always been womanish, even when I didn't understand what womanish was, I understood that I was acting out of my place. I understood because my grandma and them called me womanish. My great aunts used to tell my grandmother, Ola, you need to do something with that girl. She just too womanish. What they were saying was she far above where she needs to be right now. She's acting in ways that's out of her place. 20 years later. But as we talked about this morning, it's always been in my DNA. So I have evolved in my theology, what I believe about God and what I believe about how God operates. I have evolved in my anthropology, what I believe about God's people. Listen, let me tell you, the violence that I caused toward members of the LGBTQIA plus community, and it was based upon my theology. It was based upon my theology. But today, because I know better, because I have evolved in my thinking and my understanding, God forgive me for how I have treated others. How dare I? Now remember, I preached my first sermon in 2003. I didn't go to seminary until 2012. So what is that? 3 and 12, 9 years in between before I would get to an understanding. Because of being in community with someone and seeing their hurt from the church, and I was a part of the system that brought the hurt. I have evolved. I have evolved in my sociology. What I believe about patriarchy, power, and the pulpit. That oftentimes, if it had not been for the civil rights movement, if it had not been for those who were on the lower rungs to cause unrest, to protest, we would not have made the gains that we've had. Because sometimes we need to, thank you, Natasha, being who you are, putting that link there, because we sometimes we need to go up against systems. I thank God for people like Fannie Lou Hamer, Ida B. Wells. And I thank God for those who God has placed me in community with right here. I owe much to, and I want to call her name, Apostle Cynthia Hart from Albany, Louisiana. She was the first woman preacher that I knew who was pushing forth. Now this was like in the 90s. in the 80s, and I pushed against her. But she's still here, and I honor her. I honor Reverend Hilda Ray Porter from Hammond, Louisiana, who I did not understand when she had to come out first. She had to be a missionary, but she stayed. I honor Dr. Mary Whitley Moss, a black woman, pastor of a historic Black Baptist church in Punkapee Parish, St. Elmo Baptist Church, that those who didn't believe in women preachers still had to install her. I celebrate Dr. Irene Session, who last week spoke to me. Look, she was speaking to two of us, but I could just feel it when she looked in our eyes to say, speak up, because the world, you have something that the world needs to hear. You have something. The world is waiting for you. I thank God for Pastor Angie Shannon. God placed her in my life during the pandemic. Dr. Will Gaffney, Dr. Melva Sampson, Dr. Attorney Natasha Robinson, Dr. Jamie Eady, all of these women that God has given me. Reverend Barbara Terrell from Alexandria, Louisiana. Now, I'm always thinking outside of the box, but it's just who I am. And so, as I prepare to get this book into your Kindle and your mailboxes, I'm going to have a link to order the book directly from me so that you will get your hard copies and that you will get signed copies. I'm so excited. Now, I've named a lot of people, but let me tell you, I could not have done anything without my family. I know people often see me by myself, but let me tell you, if it weren't for my mom, Margaret Brown, if it weren't for my grandmothers, my grandparents, my brothers, I have 4 brothers. I'm the only girl, Kevin, Ryan, Derek, and Ephraim. That even though I may be the one in the front, I have a great cloud. And so I wanted to just come on and have this celebration with you guys. 20 years, evolving. My thinking is different. My being is different. My location is different. A lot has happened in 20 years. Listen, will you celebrate with me? The link is in the chat. It's also in the description of this broadcast. And for those who come by replay, would you put in the chat when you come? Thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much. Please make sure to get the book, to pre-order. Remember, this is a Kindle version right now. In a few weeks, I'm going to drop a link to get the hard version, but I need you to do this for me tonight and to share this and to like it and to tag others to bring them in. Listen, I'm just simply sharing from the 800 block of Mooney Avenue, a small town girl who did not believe in women preachers, who would not listen to a woman preach. And God used, I don't believe that God called, because I was going to do this. And I did it. I married and ended up marrying someone who was a crack addict. And that tumultuous time pushed me out to move to Racine, Wisconsin, so that I could clearly hear what God had been calling me to do, but I could not hear through the clutter of my belief system at that time. I would not hear God calling me. And when I got to Racine and I began to come to myself, I could hear God clearly calling me. And my good friend, Marilyn Smith, she'll tell you this story almost a year before I announced my call. She announced her call and I told her, ain't no way no woman's supposed to be preaching, Marilyn. I don't believe it. I don't care what you say. About a year or so later, I announced my call to preach. And I have been doing so. And passionately disrupting systems that silences women in the pew and certainly in the pulpit. Listen, y'all, be blessed. When you have gotten your books, your pre-sale, your pre-orders, just put it in the comment section, done. This is my prayer, that the book will bless you, that you will be edified, and God will be glorified. Listen, that's all. I'm out of here, continually evolving day by day. May all be well with your day. Bye-bye.